Tim Davis, chairman of the Tarrant County GOP. Thank you so much and welcome to Eye on
Well,
Politics.
thanks, Jack. It's great to be here.
Nice to see you. So let's talk about the major upset Saturday night in State Senate District 9 in Tarrant County. It's a Republican majority district, and Democrat Taylor Ramett handily defeated Republican Lee Wamsgans. What happened?
Yeah, no, I think what happened is a number of combination of things that we saw from turnout to weather to a mid. This is as you and I talked before, this is the first election really of the midterm cycle. And we saw a lot of things. We learned a lot of things Saturday night that will inform how we go forward from here. I think there's a national feeling about these elections right now is, as we know, the party that holds the White House has a lot of work to do in the midterm elections, and I think that's the first thing that we saw on Saturday night.
So you think this was nationally driven? The national political climate drove the turnout, drove the results.
Well, I think what we heard from a lot of voters, and we talked to hundreds, to thousands of them over the course of this campaign, was that there are issues that they're concerned about, issues that are important to them. And I think, yes, I think all of elections are always a reflection of what's happening in our country.
And what were those issues
Yeah,
that they told you about?
folks are concerned about immigration. They're concerned about a regulatory and a tax burden. They're concerned about what's happening in our borders, and all of those things filter into these elections as we go and we decide who's going to even represent us here locally in Texas as those issues affect us here at home.
I was speaking with a Republican pollster here in Dallas, Russ Hunt, who broke down the people who actually voted. And he said that there were still more Republicans who went out to vote than Democrats. And he said by doing the math, it sure looks like traditional Republican households, people in those households crossed over and voted for Ramett, and independents voted for Ramett. So, what do you make of that?
Yeah, we saw those numbers too. And I think it's a reflection again of who turned out and who showed up. And so if we compare what happened on Saturday to what happened 4 years ago when this race was in its normal cycle, this race saw about 30% turnout compared to what happens in a normal cycle. And I think largely that's what we are seeing. We're seeing a lot of folks who were energized and were aware of this special off-cycle election who showed up and turned out. But there'll be a lot more voters in November. That's what we're looking towards. That's what we're looking forward to is this election will be back on the ballot in November, and these same candidates will be head to head again in November, and we expect the result to be different.
Now, Republicans are certainly surprised about what happened. Governor Abbott told me several weeks ago himself that there are more Republicans in this district, the Republicans will turn out, and Wamsgans will win. That didn't happen. So how can you be so sure that in this particular race, since there will be a rematch, that there will be a different result?
Yeah, I think the numbers don't lie. I think that what we see in this district, in Senate District 9, it's where I live. I voted in this election on Saturday. We know that this is a very conservative district. The president won it by 17 points. Kelly Hancock won it 4 years ago by 20. And again, this is an election that had several factors, such as I said, weather and turnout. The folks that live here are conservative. They support our party. They support our values that we're advocating for and our issues. We're not going to take anything for granted. And please don't hear me say that at all. What we're going to continue to do is just keep working and move towards November, knowing that when this race is in its regular cycle, when it's on the ballot, along with the governor's race, along with the Senate race, we know that there'll be a higher turnout. Of course, there certainly will.
And Lee Wamsgans said that this was a wake-up call and that Republicans didn't show up. And yet she was out there. She said her campaign was out there. She told me herself they had, 13,000, maybe it's more than that now, who were going out there doing door to door. So the outreach was there, she said, but those folks did not show up. So how do you get people to show up? Isn't that always the trick? And are you surprised that the Republicans did not?
Yeah, nobody's going to go to a movie that they don't know is showing. And I think that's kind of the first thing that we've got to take into consideration as we compare Saturday to what's going to happen in November. Texans are used to voting in November. The country is used to voting in November. We aren't used to voting in January, at the end of January, in the midst of a weather event. And so I think that's the thing that we've got to keep in mind whenever we talk about who's going to turn out or what's going to happen going forward. When this gets on a regular cycle and when voters are keyed in and ready to go vote, I think there's a lot of fatigue with politics right now. I think a lot of folks are just not coming out of the holidays and coming into what's going to be a very busy primary season here in a few weeks. Folks just don't want to go vote. They don't want to have to think about politics all the time, such as a cycle that constantly churns like we have here with this special election. So I think that's the first factor. When folks are ready, when they're clued in to the normal cycle and what's going to happen, there will be turnout. But one of the things that Tim Davis personally understands and learned from Saturday is this is the time for Republicans to unify. We cannot take anything for granted. When our message is clear, when our message is out there, when voters are able to see and hear about it from us, we prevail. We've got to come together in our party and make sure that our message is getting conveyed in the right places and at the right times.
Do you think is division in the party? And if so, did that cause some of this?
Well, our party is a big tent and it has a lot of different groups and a lot of different interests. And that's one thing that we're proud of. We're proud that within that banner of republicanism, there are a lot of different groups. And so I don't think there's division. I don't think that there's so much infighting or anything like that. But what I do think that we have to do is we have to work together to drive these things that you and I have just talked about turnout and getting our message out and making sure that we're in front of every voter with a very clear, consistent message about how our party is the party of faith and family and freedom.
I've read, and going back to the question that I asked you before, and you said you saw these results that, Republicans crossed over and voted for Ramette, and I've read reports that one of the reasons for that is because they thought there was just too much divisive rhetoric by Republicans, and they liked Ramette's message of trying to just bring everybody together. He wasn't saying Republican versus Democrat, red versus blue. He wanted to bring people together.
Yeah, and so do Republicans. I think the other thing to consider as we compare what happened on Saturday to what will happen in November is we had one candidate on the ballot. We had one race really on the ballot. And in November, we'll have everyone from the U.S. Senate race all the way to our constables and justices of the peace, as well as some even municipal elections that have moved their elections to November. That is a unifying force. That is something that's going to bring us all together as our entire ballot functions together and advances our cause.
And last question, do you think, I mean, is this an embarrassment for Republicans, number one, and number two, and you touched on it a little bit, how do you change the outcome for November?
Yeah, this is not an embarrassment at all. It is a wake-up call that we, as I've said, can't take anything for granted. But Jack, this is just the second round of a three-round fight. It's been reported by you and others that whoever won on Saturday likely was never going to cast a vote in the Texas State Senate. Instead, the election in November will elect the senator from Senate District 9 for the next legislative session. That's what's important to focus on. That's what we're focused on. Not an embarrassment at all, but very good wake-up call and a call for unity and a call for us to work even harder to make sure we advance our mission.
Tim Davis, chairman of the Tarrant County GOP, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.